want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day, my book, The Mirror of Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you. You're now tuned in to the best show out there. This is the one where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is that go-getter energy that moves you to action, and makes things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together into one package. What you get is the mindset, the method, the philosophy, the book, the show, known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is failure leaves clues. We have all heard the saying that success leaves clues, right? And you can follow those clues, whatever those clues of success are, and there are plenty of them. I've given you over 1,000 of them. If you listen to the show on a regular basis, and if you're a member of the game group, you have access to all of them. And you can follow those clues to create success, right? You do clues that create success. If you follow the clues, you'll probably get to the end result, whatever that result proposes itself to be. Today, we're going to talk about the clues that failure leaves, because failure leaves clues as well. If success can leave clues, that means failure can leave clues. Often, many of those clues are the exact opposite of the clues that create success. And you need to understand how and where you may unconsciously be following some of those clues to failure. Because I don't think you would do it on purpose. I don't think you're trying to fail. If you were, you wouldn't be listening to a show called Work on Your Game. You'd be listening to, I don't know, something not this. So today we're going to check ourselves on what those clues towards failure may be. Before we get into it, I want to refer you to episodes number 147, 148, and 149. In those 3 episodes, I went over Napoleon Hill's list of the 31 major causes of failure in life. He laid those out in his book, Think and Grow Rich. I laid them out in those 3 episodes and gave you my interpretation, Work on Your Game style, of what those causes. First of all, I laid out what the causes were based on Napoleon Hill, and then how they apply to your life and how they may be being applied in your life right now and what you're doing. So I beseech you, after you listen to this one, you go listen to episodes 147, 148, and 149 so that you understand where Napoleon Hill was coming from when he laid out the reasons that people fail in life. While we, of course, are not aiming for failure, you should still be able to accurately spot the clues of failure when they occur. So you are, number 1, keen to avoid them. Number 2, able to remove them when you find yourself guilty of them. And number 3, notice them in other people so you know who to stay away from, maybe who you can advise, or if someone asks you to advise them, you can notice these clues towards failure and point them out in those people so that they don't continue to make the same mistakes. Now, while there are hundreds of clues that failure leaves, we're not going to list out 100. Today, I'm going to give you 4. And you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to give you 4 more. So we're going to make this volume 1. Failure leaves clues, volume 1. Tomorrow will be failure leaves clues, volume 2. Today, we're going to start with just a few. So point number 1. Again, the topic, failure leaves clues. Number 1, clue of failure. Can you guess what it is? If you listen to the show often enough, you should know what we start with. You should know what this philosophy begins with. Then you should know, as I already told you, that often the failure is the exact opposite of what creates the success. So since the number 1 principle that we lay out every single day when the show comes on is what? The discipline of showing up day after day to do the work. What is the clue to failure? A lack of discipline. A lack of discipline is the number 1 clue that you are on your way to failure, or the number 1 clue that someone you know is on their way to failure, or number 1 clue that's something that you are doing, because you could be a wild success in one area of life and a complete failure in another area. If you have discipline in one area, that's probably why you're successful. And if you lack discipline in another area, that's probably why you are unsuccessful there. And all of us, none of us is perfect in every area. Usually the areas we're failing in, at least the ones in which we're failing because we don't have the same discipline for whatever reason. A lack of discipline will create failure. It precipitates failure. This happens a lot in sports with athletes who are otherwise talented enough to perform and excel at any level, but they mess it up with a lack of discipline. Coaches who are listening to this, you ever had an athlete who had obviously the talent to perform and maybe be the best player on your team and definitely go to the next level, whatever that next level may be from where you're at, or any athletes listening to this? You ever known a fellow athlete, I'm 100% sure you have, who had the talent, probably more talent than you, more talent than everybody else on the team, but they didn't have the discipline to actually leverage that talent into where it should have took them. You know anybody who fits that description? You probably know too many of them. I know plenty. Athletes who mess it up by, let's say, resisting authority, failing in school, messing up somehow, some way off the court or off the field or away from the pitch, whatever sport they play. In business, the lack of discipline is the person who has a ton of creative ideas, but they're never able to buckle down and actually bring one of those ideas to fruition and get it out to the market. Any of you guilty of that? You always have all these new creative ideas, these new things that you want to do. Every day is every week. It's a new initiative that you want to begin, but you have never exercised the discipline to take one of those ideas and take it from point A all the way to actually being finished and getting something out of it. You know anybody who fits that description? I know plenty of people in that area as well. Any of you who's a freelancer or entrepreneur, runs your own business or a solopreneur or brand builder, you probably know some people who fit that description. Maybe you at times in life have been that person, haven't had the discipline to complete things. Maybe you have the creativity and the initiative to start things, but you haven't had the discipline to finish them through all the way to the end. Or maybe the person in life who has all the tools, whatever those tools happen to be, necessary to achieve and whatever they decide they're going to do. But this person never takes the time to actually learn the game that they're in. They don't learn the hustle of the game that they're in. Like we talked about a few days ago, just because you're in the game doesn't mean you're going to win the game. And just because you are in the game playing, even if you're playing well, if you don't understand what the hustle is, you may put a whole lot of effort, energy, time, money into something that you don't even need to be putting it into, waste your resources, and then you fall behind simply because you didn't understand the game. You didn't understand the hustle. You failed to discipline yourself to get the right information and understand how to apply it the right way. All of these are clues that could lead you into failure, because you got to understand in life, we're all on the clock. So getting something done in twice the time that it takes a bunch of other people to get things done could lead you to fail. You could end up losing just because even though you got the right information and you did the right things, you just did them too late. I mean, if someone came up with the idea for a social network right now, it might be a little bit too late. Not that you can't create a new one, but we got a bunch. We got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got TikTok, we got YouTube, if you want to call that social networking. If you come out with one now, yes, there's an opportunity, but it's not the same opportunity that it was 15 years ago. Simply because you took too long to bring it out. And any of you seen the TV show Jeopardy, where Alex Trebek poses the answer and you have to come with the question? If you have the right question to the answer that Alex Trebek has posed, but you're slow to the buzzer as compared to the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you, then and they got the right question before you, you don't get the money. You don't win. You end up losing the show, even though you had all the right information. You might know the answers to every single question, but if somebody else buzzes before you and they have the right answer, you lose, even though you did everything right. Do you understand that? So in life, speed matters. And we talked about this. We just talked about it in yesterday's episode, how to start off quickly. If you can't apply speed to your precision, to your game, to your skills, you could end up losing simply because you're slow, even though everything else is right. So discipline means, we already know, what? Showing up every single day to do the work. And it's not just showing up and doing the work that you like to do. I mean, that's what makes it discipline. It's easy to be disciplined with things that we like, right? The things that we actually like doing, we don't even call it discipline. It's just a thing that I do. All right, those are the things that you might consider yourself, quote, a natural, close quote, or you just say it just comes easy to you. Those things that you like doing and you're able to apply discipline. Is the areas, the things that you don't like doing. The things that you may not be so excited about, the things that have not yet produced a return on investment that you must continue to invest in, those are the ones where your discipline is challenged. And if you're not willing to do those things, whatever they happen to be, this is the student athlete who just wants to play their sport, but they don't want to go to class. All right, well, eventually you won't be able to play your sport because you didn't go to class. Even though you hate class, you got to understand what the hustle is, like we talked about a few days ago. The hard work that is not fun but necessary, that's the discipline. If you are not doing that, I need you to look at whatever your major area of focus is in your life right now and ask yourself, what's the hard work in this that is not fun to me, but it is necessary for me to succeed? And how much time am I putting into doing that work? And if you don't like your answer or you're embarrassed by your answer, you may be cluing yourself in. Actually, you are cluing yourself in to the failure that is ahead of you if you don't make changes. Point number 2. Today's topic is Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 1. Bad choices that go unfixed. Notice that this is not just bad choices, because we all make bad choices at times in life, but we're all smart as well. So when we make a bad choice, we can recognize, maybe with some time, with some activity now, is we can recognize that the decision that we made was a bad decision, a bad choice, and we can change it. But this is where you become a failure, is when you make a bad choice, you realize that it was a bad choice, and then you don't do anything. You just keep making that bad choice. You just let that bad choice live on as is. Understand that none of us is perfectly clairvoyant. None of us can see the future with perfect clarity. We like to think we can see the future. Sometimes we predict the future, and sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're not so right. We tend to ignore the times that we were not right? And then we tout the times when we were. But we all make bad decisions. We all make bad choices. We all do things that maybe once we look back an hour later, a day later, 10 years later, like, damn, maybe I should not have made that decision. And that's all right, because that's the way that we learn. That's where stories come from. If you don't have any stories of making bad decisions, you probably won't be able to relate your experience to anyone else, because everybody else has made bad decisions. So people want to know that you've made some bad ones, so they know that you understand where they are. They need to understand that even though you're up there on that stage, that you know what it feels like to be down here in the seat. Even though you're standing in those Nikes, you know what it feels like to stand in those Vans or those Adidas. All right. The wise people amongst us notice and fix our bad choices. We fix our errors once we realize that we have made errors. And we also we challenge ourselves, we examine our decisions, or we get around people who will help us, or we get information that will help us examine our decisions so we can realize, we can sleuth out where we have made errors. Because you might be doing something right now that is a bad choice, but if you don't know that it's a bad choice, then you're going to keep doing it. So that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm saying when you know you've made a bad choice, but you don't fix it. Now, I must also add in, not knowing that you made a bad choice does not excuse you from the bad choice. It does not relieve you from the responsibility of that bad choice. The quicker you can figure out that you made some bad choices and bad decisions, the better. And then you got to do something about them. That's why you must continue to inform yourself. You must continue to read. You must continue to study. You must continue to learn from people who are smarter than you, who have more experience than you, who have done things that you haven't done yet, because you do not have the time, as the saying goes, to make every mistake in life. That's why you need to learn from the mistakes of other people so you don't repeat them. So once you find out that a bad mistake has been made, a bad choice has been made on your behalf, or has been made for you on your behalf, that you didn't make yourself, then is your responsibility to change it. And the longer you take to change it, the closer you are getting to failure. You follow me? The wise people amongst us notice and fix our errors. The fools amongst us notice and do not fix our errors. It is simple as that. The fools ignore their errors and they do nothing. They compound their mistakes by doubling down on their bad choices, and they make things even worse. You ever know anybody who did that? They realized that what they were doing was a mistake, but instead of stopping, they just kept digging themselves deeper and deeper into that same hole. Maybe you can admit it to yourself. Maybe at times you've done the exact same thing. You realized that what you were doing was not the right thing to do, but you just kept going anyway. Because maybe you just couldn't stop yourself in that moment. You just had a little bit of momentum going and you couldn't stop yourself. Even though logically you were saying you shouldn't be doing this, emotionally you wanted to keep going. You realized it was a bad decision. You didn't fix it as quickly as you could have. It happens. It's okay. But as long as you recognize that that's what you did and you don't keep making the same mistake over and over again, you can get yourself to success. You can leverage that failure towards success. But don't be the idiot who compounds their mistake by realizing that they made a bad choice and then doubling down and continue to make the same bad choice. Again, you probably know some people who fit this description. They did something wrong, admitted that what they did was wrong, admitted that they had messed up, said they were going to fix it and do better, and then they went and did the same thing again after they told you that they knew they had messed up. So they went and messed up on purpose the second time, and then a third, fourth, fifth, maybe a 10th time. Again, how many people you know who fit this description? Maybe it's one specific person in your life that you know of who does this over and over again. But anybody who does that is getting ready for failure, or they may already be there. Just make sure it's not you. Point number 3. Today's topic is Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 1. Poor associations. Robert Greene said in his book, The 48 Laws of Power, one of the chapters was the chapter's title was The Law of Infection. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. Avoid them. Do not try to pull them up with you. Do not think you can let some of your happiness and luck rub off on the unhappy person and they'll all of a sudden become happy and lucky because they've been around you. No, their negativity will pull you down faster than your positivity will pull them up, is what Robert Greene said. And again, in his book, The 48 Laws of Power. It's maybe a very Machiavellian way of looking at the world, but you can find out the hard way if you want to. Understand that Robert Greene said in his book, I'm saying it right here on this show, poor associations will precipitate your failure. In other words, when you realize that you're around a person or people who are on their way to failure, do not join them and jump off the cliff with them. If you have the wrong people around you, or you are around the wrong people in one way or another, you are putting yourself in a position to fail. You can lose an entire career. You can lose an opportunity. You can mess up your entire life as a result of one bad association. One poor choice. Notice how these tie together of bad associations. One undisciplined, poor choice of bad association can destroy your life, can destroy your career, can cost you an opportunity. See how all these fit together? It's your responsibility. Whomever your associations are, they're your responsibility. Whoever you are around, as the law of association says, you will become the average of the people you spend time with, right? And everyone seems to agree with the law of association. I never heard anybody say they disagree with the law of association. Therefore, look at the people that you're around. Who are you spending time with every day? Who's your significant other? Is this person headed towards success or are they headed towards failure? Who are your friends? Are they headed towards success or failure? And listen, you don't need to listen to everything that I've said in this episode or tomorrow's episode to know the answer to that question. You know immediately the people who are around you because you see them so often. You're around their energy. You hear how they talk. You see how they conduct themselves. You know if that person's headed towards success or they're headed towards failure. There's no ambiguity. You know. So the people who you're around, are they headed towards success or are they headed towards failure? And if you know that they're headed towards failure, yet you continue to hang with them, you are going the same place they're going. Failure. Sometimes you don't know that you've made the mistake. Sometimes you don't know that you made the mistake of hanging around the wrong people, the wrong associations until it's too late rather. Sometimes somebody just shows you that they're going to do some failure things and you're associated with them. And by the time they actually do the thing, it's too late for you to do anything about it. Every once in a while that happens. I say maybe 2% of the time that happens. Okay. So it's probably not referring to you. 98% of the time, you know exactly who these people are. The problem is you don't do anything about it. You know you're hanging with somebody who's headed towards failure, but you keep hanging with them because for whatever reason it's satisfying you on some level. Some part of you is satisfied by being around that person and you keep being around them and you're headed towards failure. And it's only once you get to the failure that you're able to consciously realize, damn, I made a mistake. Understand that when you're around the wrong associations in life, you will see the clues in people that associate with them that it will hurt you in some way, but maybe you ignore it or maybe you rationalize it. You come up with a story that makes it seem okay. I'm trying to help this person out. I'm trying to bring this person up. I'm trying to take them to another level. I think if they're around me, I can have a positive influence on this individual. There are a few people in the world who can do that. Most people cannot. I would suggest that you err on the side of caution in this specific area, that you may need to err on the side of caution. And people, as I talked about in the anecdote that I gave you about the rescue helicopter, where there's not enough space on the helicopter to save everybody who's drowning in the ocean. They only save the people who are swimming towards them. Anybody who's not swimming towards you to come get the help that they know you're offering, you gotta let them drown because that's what they want to do. It is, don't jump in the water and try to save a person who's not trying to get saved because they're gonna pull you down. You're gonna drown right there with them. Is that what you want? 2 dead people or 1? This is a failure clue that you should learn to heed. Do not ignore when somebody shows you that they're on their way to failure. Do not rationalize with a story when someone shows you that they're on their way to failure. This clue is one that you should learn to heed and you should pay very strict attention to it. And you should be very strict in applying it, very disciplined and strict in applying this poor associations law of failure, because you will fail very quickly by being around the wrong people, even if you are doing all the right things. Point number 4. Today's topic, failure leaves clues. Volume 1, indecision. This is another clue of failure. If you're an indecisive individual, you're a person who has a hard time making decisions, committing to something, taking action behind a decision that you've made, you are on your way to failure. Napoleon Hill laid indecision out as one of his causes of failure as well. People who cannot decide cannot take action. right? You can't do anything if you don't decide to do anything. Can we agree? You got to at least come to in your mind, all right, I'm going to do this thing before you even start doing the thing. And then even when you start, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good. So if you can't make a decision, then you can never take action. If you cannot take action, it's impossible for you to achieve anything. You can't become a success in life if you don't do anything. And if you don't decide to do anything, then you can never even take action. So you are ineligible to become a success if you're unable to make a decision. Successful people make decisions faster and more definitively than their failing counterparts. So look at yourself. I'm not talking about in the future. Just look at yourself over the last 30 days, the last 6 months, the last 6 weeks, the last time you were asked to make a decision. How did you respond? What did you do? How long did it take for you to come to a conclusion? How long did it take for you after you came to that conclusion to actually move your feet and do something about that decision that you made? Do you like the answers that you have to those questions? I'm asking you these questions rhetorically. You need to be asking yourself these questions directly, as in, don't move on to the next question until you get an answer to the last one. Remember something. Whatever decision that you make, because sometimes people don't want to make decisions because usually people are indecisive because they're afraid of making the wrong decision. So let me give you an antidote to that. Whatever decision you make is the best one that you could have made. Otherwise, you would have made a different decision. In other words, when you make a bad decision in life and you look back and realize, damn, that was a bad decision that I made, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't decide that you are resigned to failure because of it. Just say to yourself, you know what? At that moment, with what I knew and the information I had gathered and what I was feeling and everything, all things considered, at that time, that was the best decision that I could have made. I realized that it was not the right decision in the long run. Now that I'm aware of it, I can do something differently and we'll fix this situation. Period. End of story. Move on to the next thing. You don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to harp on it. You don't have to beat yourself up about it. Don't allow anybody else to do that to you. Move on and make a better decision and fix it. Whatever decision you make is the best one that you could have made. If you could have made a better decision, you would have made it, right? I mean, you don't make a suboptimal decision on purpose, do you? Do you ever make bad decisions on purpose? No, you make the decision that you think makes sense or you feel makes the most sense in that moment given the circumstances. And sometimes we're wrong. We're human. Sometimes we'll mess up and make the wrong decision. Your job is to identify as quickly as possible when you've made the wrong decision and then fix it. That's it. If you don't identify it, or you try to act like every decision you make is the right one, or you identify it and don't do anything about it, that's when you start headed towards failure. All right, so now that we're clear on that, this is how you can make a different decision, a better decision whenever you realize that the decision that you made was not the right decision. All right, now let's make the decision, a recap in today's topic, which is failure leaves clues. This is volume 1. Tomorrow we're going to do volume 2. They say that success leaves clues. You can follow those clues to create success, but today is about the clues that failure leaves and how you may be unconsciously, I don't think you're trying to fail on purpose. Listen to a show called Work on Your Game. You may be unconsciously following these and not even knowing it, but that's why I'm here for you to point them out and help you change what you need to change. Refer yourself again to episodes number 147, 148, and 149, where I detail Napoleon Hill's list of the 17 major causes of failure in life over the course of 3 episodes. I beseech you to go listen to those 3 episodes so that you get it all. Again, if you are not a member of the game group, go start a 14-day, same as 2 weeks, free trial to access everything that's ever come out here. If you only do it just to listen to these 3 episodes, do it just for that. Okay, 147, 148, 149, the 17 major causes of failure, and make sure you listen to this one and tomorrow's episode 6 times a piece. While we are not aiming for failure, you should be able to accurately spot failure so that you can check yourself and you can check the people whom you are around, because you will become them just by association. Point number 1 clue that leads to failure: lack of discipline. This happens to athletes who are otherwise talented, but they mess up in some way that has nothing to do with their game because they're not willing to do what they got to do in order to get to where they want to get to. They don't understand the hustle. This is the business person who always has a new idea, but they never complete an idea all the way to fruition and bring it to a conclusion. Or the person in life who has all these tools, but they never decide to learn the game that they're in. Understand that discipline is not just about doing the things that you like doing. It's about doing the stuff that is hard work, not fun, but necessary. If you're not doing too much of that every single day, understand that you may lack discipline. Point number 2, bad choices to go unfixed None of us is perfectly clairvoyant. Therefore, we will all at times make bad decisions. You've done it before. You may have made a bad decision today. You're going to make bad decisions in the future because you're a human being. We all make bad decisions. But the wise people notice when we make bad decisions and we fix them. The fools notice that you made a bad decision and do nothing. Or you never notice that you made a bad decision because you never examine yourself. You never self-evaluate. Therefore, you never notice that you made a bad decision. And then you compound your mistake by doubling down on a bad choice and making things worse because you are too ignorant to notice that you made a bad decision. Ignorant means not to know. Point number 3, poor associations. You have the wrong people around you and you are around the wrong people. You can lose a whole career. You can lose an opportunity. You can mess up your entire life as a result of one bad association. Have you ever seen that happen to anybody? Has it ever happened to you? Sometimes you don't know that you've made this mistake until it's too late, but 98% of the time you do know, and you just don't do anything about it. Or don't be that person. Don't be the fool who does nothing about the bad association decisions that you've made from a lack of discipline. Notice I put all those 3 together. This is a failure clue that you should learn to heed and learn to heed it quickly. This clue can make the biggest change in your life in the shortest period of time is changing your associations. Point number 4, indecision. People who cannot decide on things cannot take action. It's impossible to take action if you don't decide. It's impossible to achieve if you don't take action. Successful people make decisions faster and more definitively than their failing counterparts. Even if it ends up being a wrong decision, they make it faster and they're more definitive about it. And then they fix it when they realize it's the wrong decision. That's what successful people do. They don't bat 1,000. They just fix it when they know that they messed up. Remember this. Whatever decision you make is the best one that you could have made given the circumstances at that time. Otherwise, you would have made a different decision. And when you realize that it was a bad decision, you do what you can to fix it. Tomorrow, we're going to go into Failure Leaves Clues Volume 2 because there are a lot of them that you need to know about. Check yourself. Work on your game. Dre all day.